Hello and welcome back to another video on my channel. This is the first video I'm making in quite a while because I'll be honest, I was sort of spending several weeks, to be precise, about three, about how I wanted to approach this video, which is evident by the title. It's going to be about my thoughts on in-person learning. I talked about my thoughts on online schooling and drew parallels between that and homework, which is another thing that I deeply despise. I did a video on that in the past. You can go ahead and check it out. Link will be in the description. Or I might put it somewhere on the video so that you can click on it like as an annotation or something. But I was sort of thinking about how I wanted to approach this video because, I wanted to make the video seem professional. But then I was sort of caught in a dilemma between if I wanted to make it seem professional or organic. I would much rather there be a balance between the two rather than, have it be more professional than organic or vice versa. And then I realized, if I do research on this topic, it's really going to be unnecessary. If it's my thoughts, I should be drawing everything I say in the video from experience, so I don't need to do that. And on top of that, there's already a dozen other videos you can check out on YouTube that basically present the facts as they are as to why schooling sucks such a massive, big cost. So let's get into my experience. Now, the original way I wanted to approach this video was to break down a typical school day as I experienced it in my past and sort of give my thoughts, in between on different aspects of the school day. So we're going to go with doing that. So the day usually starts, let's say, around like 6 in the morning. That's like the average time I typically get up. I don't know about everyone else out there. I'm drawing this from an experience of either a middle schooler or a high schooler, mostly a high schooler. And generally, at this point in time when you wake up, you're supposed to be feeling, sort of neutral. It's a new day. Nothing has happened up to this point, or at least nothing much has happened up to this point. But then you wake up kind of feeling, already annoyed because typically during these school days, you have not completed a full night's worth of rest, so you're already annoyed. And on top of that, you have to go and attend school, which who wants to do that so early in the morning and on such little sleep? Typically the environments in classrooms are already monotonous enough. I'll get into that later. So you wake up, you're all cranky, you're annoyed, you want to go back to sleep, and you just want at some point the school day to be miraculously canceled, or you just want to skip out on it. But anyway, you get ready, and then you either get bused or driven to school. Now, being driven to school is a way more pleasant experience than taking the bus, and I have my reasons for that. Well, at first, taking the school bus to school used to be, I wouldn't say totally chill, but it was sort of, on par with being driven because, the bus that I went on, or at least the kids that I used to go with on it were pretty chill. That is until at some point in, I think my last year of middle school, my bus was involved in some sort of a collision, and then all of a sudden there was this slight change in routes where we were, there was an extension that was added, and we had to go around to this apartment complex where there was these way more rowdy group of kids who were far more obnoxious, and that made the morning understandably more insufferable than it already was. So I had to go to school with these people who just wouldn't shut their mouths, who just had way too much energy for about 6 something in the morning. It's like, chill out. No one's asking for this. Shut up. The worst part would be if someone who's not your friend tries to strike up a conversation with you, but they just do it just to be a dick and you just want to fucking slap them in the face. And obviously, you can't. I grew up in a school where basically you start trouble with everyone. They're going to make a scene. They're going to try to get everyone's attention, and they're going to try their best to embarrass you. So I did not want to risk. Your best choice was to basically turn away from the situation. But anyway, you get to school, right? You sort of, unless if you're not late, then you typically have some time to spare before you go to classes. And typically you'd have breakfast at that time, but I wouldn't because the school breakfasts are kind of crap. And typically when I have breakfast anyway, my stomach starts hurting. I feel like I sort of have to throw up or take a fat little shit. We go into class, all right? And there's something about class that's just so awful. The seats typically tend to be uncomfortable. You are not allowed to go to sleep no matter how tired you are. And typically, the teachers do not really understand whether or not there is chemistry between you and another student. So maybe there's a chance you may get sat with one of your friends or be sat with someone who you find to be an insufferable asshole, who you just do not want to associate whatsoever. So keep in mind you were already irritable from the morning, so now you have to go through this like an hour or so of class. You go to the next one, same thing sort of happens, blah blah blah. You hear a teacher talk, you're assigned to do different things, despite multiple studies showing that the brain isn't exactly ready to learn prior to 10 in the morning. Now, that's the one and only time I'm actually going to reference any sort of, well, fact in this sort of sense. Then you get to the lunch period. Now, the lunch period is probably the best part of the day, but also kind of the worst in terms of duration. It's the amount of time a lunch period takes is only about like a half hour, at least where I went to school, which would be extremely minuscule in comparison to the amount of times you spent sitting in a classroom and, like I said before, possibly next to an asshole who you absolutely despise. But it only lasts for about half an hour. That's all the time you get to eat food, spend time with your friends, and go to the bathroom. Actually feel like you have some sort of human rights, you know? Which, speaking of going to the bathroom, I don't know why some teachers, and this may not be coming from them, this could be what they're directed to do. I don't know why some teachers find it such a good idea to try to hold you up from going to the bathroom as long as possible. You do realize there is no winning when you try to hold me up. Eventually, there's going to be some shit to piss out on the floor, on the chair, alright? There's no winning whatsoever. The teacher will have to bear with it, right? And sort of bear some responsibility for that action. The kid who shits themselves gets dirty. Everyone in the class is disgusted. A student or two may vomit. And the custodian has to get in, clean that shit up. And really, it's the all-out ugly situation. Just let me go to the bathroom, relieve myself, I feel better, and a disaster could be potentially avoided. You know, everyone wins. But some teachers just find so much, I don't even know if I should say pleasure, but they just find that they can just hold up a kid from going to the bathroom for no good reason. Oh, I'm about to say something important. Well, I mean, you better say it fast because I have to go really badly, and if it's that important, then, spill the beans. And then once you typically leave school, I mean, depending on the people who you are spending the day with, and depending on how you were treated, whether you're treated like a human or not, and if you're really teased a lot in school, you'll come away from school feeling either good, or like shit, or like I usually came home from school. I typically just felt nothing because I've been so numbed to everything. Doesn't mean I can't feel emotions and react to certain things, but yeah, you're just like, So, I guess that's my thoughts on the school day. In my previous video on online schooling, it may have sounded like I sort of defended, in-person schooling. And I guess I sort of have some good things to say about in-person schooling. It gives you an environment which further incentivizes you to get work done, obviously. It's it feels like an appropriate environment to actually do that crap. Definitely not at home, in contrast to being at home. And also, you can potentially, you can meet your friends, meet new people, expand your social circle, and, get better at socializing. Among other things, you can also do some extracurricular activities like sports, like I did at some point. But overall, would I say that I like it more than I dislike it? I probably wouldn't. I probably would prefer not to do it. I certainly think that the school system needs some sort of reform to actually make you feel like a human rather than just another, human in the sea of other people, where you're just directed by a bell, which makes me go insane, and directed to get to one class and then do this and that. And it all feels sort of robotic. But those are my thoughts on, on in-person schooling. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a comment below or a video idea. I'm trying to scramble for more at the moment. I might actually take this channel in a slightly different direction than how I'm doing it right now. All the best for you people. Goodbye.